Well, a lot of people said that Donald Trump had no chance of winning when he ran in a 19-way primary in 2015. What I'm telling you, Piers, is that I'm here to tell the truth. And when we were at the University of Florida 2 weeks ago and we had 500 people in the audience, black, white, rich.
This guy's tough, obviously, but like he's not even worth worrying about because he won't win. Like, he will never win. He's not even going to come close. He's just a joke.
Poor Muslim Christian Jew. That spoke to a real energy on the ground. And so I'm not going to put blind faith in polls that said that Hillary Clinton was the shoo-in and that Kamala Harris was the shoo-in. I'm going to speak truth out of an unapologetic love for a state that my family has called home for 4 generations now. The truth is that I love my state, but my state is hurting right now. Young couples can't afford to buy a home. People are being laid off and billionaires are firing them to bring in cheap foreign labor from South Asia, all at the same time when essential services like healthcare are being denied to veterans all over the state. And so I am fighting for a state that every single Floridian can afford, and that's why I'm running for governor.
One of the big things you've been on recently, you've been on a very critical run against Israel, particularly for roping America into the war in Iran, as you see it, because you say they're too cowardly to fight for themselves, although they are fighting, obviously, in Iran. It's interesting, because in November 2024, a few weeks after October the 7th, you said this.
So Trump moved an embassy, got Muslim-majority countries for the first time ever to recognize the rightful existence of the Jewish state of Israel, and that justifies the heinous attack we saw on October 7th. Iran was—
Wait, that's him! No way, that's the same person! I remember watching this video, I remember watching this 20v1 and thinking, like, he's actually the smartest fucker I mean, again, it's not like, it doesn't mean much being the smartest out of 20, like, right-wing fucking mental people. It's like being the healthiest McDonald's item. But still, I can't believe it's the same person, because he actually seemed, like, relatively well-spoken, and it seemed like he had a head screwed on. No, it is the same person. Oh, fuck. Jesus. That's mental. Oh, sorry, is my mic too loud? I'll lower it.
was only exporting 150,000 barrels of oil a day under Trump. Now they're exporting 1.6 million. They're making hundreds of billions of dollars a year more. That emboldens them to give their proxies weapons, money, and the vigor to attack the Jewish state. And that is unacceptable in the international community.
So a lot of people look at that clip and the extended version and other comments you made at the time and thought, well, here's a really staunch supporter of Israel and the Israeli government and the relationship with America. And now you appear to have done a massive U-turn on this and become incredibly critical of them. A, do you accept that characterization? And if so, explain the change in mind.
Well, Piers, I'm glad you played that clip and gave the full context. I'm grateful for that. What I said in that clip, I stand by today, which is that Iran should never be funding the crazy terroristic proxies of Hezbollah or the Houthis or Hamas. And I've also been critical of the Israeli government. What I'm especially critical of is the fact that they now want $200 billion for the Pentagon to fight a war that Marco Rubio himself said we are fighting because Israel was the proximate catalyst for getting us in this war. So two things can be true at the same time, Piers. You understand the nuance. The first thing that's true is that, no, Israel should not be attacked by Iran. And then number two is that the United States should not lose free speech rights or send billions of dollars of taxpayer money to the Israeli government every single year. And so I'm going to speak the truth in a way that I think people in my state appreciate.
Okay.
It's not
and just to be clear, do you believe that Israel has a right to exist?
I believe that countries don't have a right to exist, but I believe that people—
Stupid talking point. Israel having the right to exist. There's no country that has the right to— It doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't even make any sense.
People have a right to exist, and Jewish Floridians, like Christian and Muslim Floridians, have a right to exist in my state, and I will defend that right. Piers, I condemn all forms of anti-Semitism.
Hang on, just to be clear. So you don't think Israel has a right to exist?
I don't think that communist—
That's actually a good answer from this bloke. Obviously, he's a fucking dumbass, like, especially what he's about to say, but, like, that was a fine answer regarding the right to exist or whatever.
China has a right to exist, but I think the Han Chinese as an ethnicity—
I'm not talking about China. I'm talking specifically about Israel, which, as you know, the Israeli government is emphatic that it has this right to exist and that right is threatened by its neighbors.
Exactly. Countries don't have rights to exist. It's complete bullshit.
Many of whom want to cause it harm through the terrorist proxies from Iran in particular. So the issue of whether it has a right to exist is a very hot one, as you know. So just to be—
Does Palestine have the right to exist?
clear, you just don't think they have a right to exist, Israel?
I don't think that any country—
No, I know you said that. I'm not talking about any country. I'm talking about specifically Israel.
Specifically Israel, and specifically and generally every country in the world does not have an inherent right to exist. Who has a right to exist are people, and that includes Jewish Floridians who are struggling just as Christian Floridians are under the weight of a cost of living crisis, Piers. And I'm going to fight for them every single day as their next governor.
Okay, let's get to the sin tax. You've proposed a 50% sin—
Things just exist. It's such bullshit.
—tax on OnlyFans creators to discourage what you call immoral behavior. So just explain that.
Well, there was a time not too long ago in the United States of America where young girls aspired to be cooks and lawyers and reporters and doctors. And nowadays they are resigned to the fact that if they have an unexpected expense or they need to cover their rent or groceries, the quickest way for them to do that is being exploited by the OnlyFans platform.
This is bullshit, by the way. This is not a thing that most girls, or even like a minority, it's such a small minority of girls that actually like turn to OnlyFans or turn to sex work, like any form of sex work. Even people who are seriously struggling, a lot of the time, most of the time, don't even fucking think about doing shit like this. It's just such a vocal minority. It's such like a small subgenre of people whose whole job, because obviously when you're doing something like that, your whole job is to be loud and exasperate and sort of make it clear that you're doing this thing. Like, that's part of the job. If you want to do it successfully and make money out of it, then you have to be fucking loud about it. So obviously it seems like there are more people doing it. All the lassies that are like wanting to become lawyers and doctors and all this regular shit that he talked about, they're not going to be fucking screaming it from the rooftops. It's like it's such common sense. Like, it's so easy. It's not complicated, like, at all.
And so I respect women. I respect them enough to think that they are capable of anything they put their minds to. And I never want a woman in my state to be exploited by the online sex slavery that is OnlyFans.
I thought it was a voluntary platform.
It's not. There's nothing voluntary about a platform that exploits women and forces them to sell nude photos on the internet.
When you say this is a classic case, just to be clear about what OnlyFans is, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding about OnlyFans is it's voluntary. No one's forcing you to do it. People go on OnlyFans, create an account, and they charge money for whatever they want to put on their account.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Saying that you're forced to do it is like saying that I'm forced to make commentary videos. It's total bullshit.
Not sure where the exploitation element, as you're articulating it, is.
Well, this is often the defense of sex trafficking, that a 15-year-old girl is voluntarily
sex trafficking is illegal.
And I believe that OnlyFans should be illegal as well.
Really? What more are they making?
Well, there's nothing. Well, I would change the law. I would change the law. That's how we do things. I mean, slavery wasn't illegal, and then we said this is a moral.
But who's enslaving people?
We changed the law.
I'm really curious.
Piers, shut the fuck up, Piers Morgan. I want to hear what he has to say. Like, he's sort of talking himself into a stupid hole here. Fucking hell. Piers does this thing. He interrupts so much. It's like the worst thing about his show. It's fucking ridiculous.
Maybe you consumed a lot more OnlyFans content than me, and you see trafficking and slavery and everything else, but I'm not aware that that is what OnlyFans is. It has a lot of adult...
If you've never been on OnlyFans, then what the fuck are you doing talking about it like you know everything about it? You probably should have done some education, you idiot.
Content, but legal adult content, which is monitored according to the law, and that people who have accounts there do so voluntarily.
No one's asking you to have a wank. No one's asking you to go on OnlyFans and fucking start wanking yourself off to some random model, but you actually have to use the platform a little bit to educate yourself, you fucking dumbass.
And they charge money. We have somebody I'm going to bring in a moment, Sophie Rain, who has made $43 million from her account on OnlyFans. I don't think she's been enslaved or exploited. I think she's perfectly happy and enjoys what she does. I mean,
okay, by the way, if we get nuked again, like if this gets copyrighted, I think we're going to end the stream.
Talk to in a moment, but why do you feel she's a slave?
So I feel that this is...
Sex work is still exploitative. No one is forced to do it. However, a lot of people don't see or have access to other opportunities. Sure, but you could literally say that for any job under capitalism ever. Like, that's why I think the whole selling consent thing is a stupid argument. Like, oh, you wouldn't be doing it if you weren't being paid for it. Yeah, but that describes every single job. Like, if you work at McDonald's, I'm sure you wouldn't be working at McDonald's if you weren't being paid to do it. So that inherent exploitativeness that like is being talked about from a sex work perspective is the exact same. It could be said for pretty much every job.
Classic case of Stockholm syndrome, where the individual, the victim, the enslaved person doesn't feel that they have real agency. This goes back to sociology 101, Piers, that someone is induced to believing they have choice, they have agency, when in fact they can't make a decision for themselves. I want young girls in my state to aspire to be astronauts, doctors, nurses, small business owners. I believe a radical thing that women can do anything they put their minds to, Piers, and I don't want them...
So do you think, just to be clear, do you think modeling is modeling to you immoral?
I think naked modeling, however you want to euphemize it, naked modeling is immoral.
I mean, Cindy Crawford was one of the greatest iconic supermodels of all time. She's done naked modeling. So is she a sinner? Is she immoral? Should she be paying 50% back of her income?
Well, in that particular act of modeling, yes, and modeling nude, but you and I both know that Cindy Crawford was not known for her nude modeling. She was predominantly known for modeling.
Yes, however, psychological and social consequences are factually different. Maybe, I don't know. It's pretty difficult to measure, I think. That's why I think pornography is pretty safe to say that it's a net bad, but it's very difficult to measure the exact effect that it has on people. Sex work is half the time a last resort, but it's not something people get forced into. Well, it is if they're being sex trafficked, but that's like, people have this issue where they conflate sex trafficking and sex work. It's like, if we're talking about sex work, obviously sex trafficking being a risk there is true, but to abolish the entire industry to prevent sex trafficking is like... it's like deporting all black people to end racism against black people. I guess, like, technically, yeah, it would work, but it's not productive at all.
So should we retrospectively go back to every supermodel who's ever posed nude and get 50% back of their income from those pictures?
As much as I'd love to do that, that's not legally possible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to raise an OnlyFans syntax.
Women's naked bodies, James.
By the way, Piers, you keep talking about women. There are thousands of men on OnlyFans, and this is going to apply just as equally to them. And so you're the one selectively outraged about women.
That's a very good point.
Woman,
it's a very good
if you're
point.
a man or a woman producing or consuming this content, and by the way, Piers, what you haven't brought up is that as governor, I would also levy a consumption tax. I'm not going to spare the men in this equation as well. If you're a young man and you're watching pornography, put down the phone, go to church, pray, and find a real God-fearing woman. Society is not going to be dictated by men and women commodifying and using one another in these ephemeral social relationships. No, it's not transactional sex. It is a romantic experience that is reserved for a man and a woman in the sanctity of marriage.
Okay, well, why don't we just bring in Sophie Rain? Just hang on there, Jason, because it'd be quite interesting to have you guys talk to each other.
Yeah, he just wants to control women's bodies. He just wants to control sex workers' bodies. It's that simple. He's just a fucking dumber. He's just a prick. Like, he's just a prick.
So, Sophie, welcome to Uncensored.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You have 4.5 million. Well, there are 4.5 million.
Tell you what, she's a prick as well, though. It's a shame I'm going to have to fucking agree with her here.
In OnlyFans creators, you are, I think, the highest earner. It's claimed that you've made $43 million. You've got 8.5 million Instagram followers, 14 million on TikTok. So you're a massive social media phenomenon. For those who are not familiar with your work, how would you describe it?
Well, I post on many platforms. I post content on Instagram. I post content on TikTok and all the above, and I also post content on OnlyFans. And honestly, I do a little bit of everything. I do little dancing TikTok videos. I'll post Instagram photos, and then obviously my OnlyFans content.
As far as I'm aware, I don't even think Sophie Rain does nude modeling. If she did, it would have been leaked for sure. But I don't think she does nude stuff. So she wouldn't even be involved in the syntax. Because you can't start taxing people who post bikini pictures. That'd have way too many bullshit implications. I mean, just the syntax itself, even the naked thing, it's almost impossible to actually integrate into whatever fucking political whatever the fuck that you're trying to actually implement. Like, it just won't work. There's just too many, there's like the lines are too blurred. Because what separates like artistic nakedness from pornographic nakedness?
And would you describe it as pornographic, or what would you describe it as?
I mean, I wouldn't describe it as pornographic, but it's definitely adult content for sure.
So what do you feel about James Fishback and his plan to tax you 50% as a sin tax for being a sinner?
I mean, I'm going to be honest, it's ridiculous. It's very ridiculous. Florida already has no income state tax. It doesn't exist. So it seems very selective, and it seems like it's a punishment.
James, are you there, James? Yeah, you are. I mean, Sophie says that that she feels like this is a punishment. Why are you punishing her?
Well, hey, Sophie, good to meet you. It's not a punishment at all. What it is a deterrent. I think Sophie recognized.
This is the thing. This is a great comment, but I actually want to address this. I agree on one side with you, but not fully. Sex work is extremely risky for the people who do it in multiple levels because of the taboo and misogynistic nature that surrounds the field. That's true. Sex work is incredibly risky. However, that's sort of the reason why it should be decriminalized, because if you decriminalize sex workers now have an opportunity to go to a boss that isn't a pimp if they get assaulted by a client of theirs. They can actually go to the police without fear of being arrested because they're pursuing something that is illegal. So if something bad happens on the job, if you go Belgium, for example, every sex worker in most rooms have panic buttons. So if something goes wrong, they can click the panic button, security cards come down, the boss comes down, the police come down. It's a lot safer for them. The more legal sex work is, the more safe it is for the people involved in sex work. So limiting sex work, like rights for sex workers, and trying to push it down and make it more criminal and applying things like syntaxes only makes it more dangerous for sex workers themselves. I agree with you that it's dangerous. That's kind of why I have the opinion that I do, though.
Is that our state was better off when young women aspired to be teachers, small business owners, doctors, and lawyers, as opposed to creating adult content. I can respect Sophie Rain as an individual and still respectfully call out that I don't want thousands of young women who are in high school today to feel like the only way they can make a living when they graduate is selling adult content, video, photos of themselves on the internet. And so, Sophie, look, with all due respect, I know you're from Florida. I'm from Florida. We both love our state. I want what's best for you, and I want what's best for every single woman in our state, and that's not to be objectified and exploited by the OnlyFans owners.
Sophie, what's your response to that?
I feel like as adults,
Saying you're being exploited by OnlyFans owners just because you work on their website is ridiculous. Like when you work at Tesco, Tesco's not really American. When you work at Walmart, you're not being exploited. Well, I guess you are being exploited by like whatever fucking the head of Walmart, I suppose. Have we gone down again, by the way? Or are we still up? Because I actually can't tell. Can you just let me know? Oh no, we're good. If you work for McDonald's, you're not being exploited by McDonald's. Well, you are, but the thing is, like, it depends on the definition of exploitation. But whatever you can say about OnlyFans, you could say about literally every other industry ever.
we are all able to legally make our own decisions. And I think that we should also educate a lot more on all of these opportunities that you're speaking of, because I just don't think that we should be singling out any individual for what they choose to do.
James?
Well, I want to single out drug dealers, Sophie. I want to single out people who are committing crimes in our society. And so as governor, my responsibility is very simple. I want to make sure that there is a path. I'm not going to be one of those Republicans who's going to attack women.
And it seems to me that your initial assertions before we spoke to Sophie, that she was, that people like her on OnlyFans are enslaved, they're being exploited. And then you do an analogy just now to drugs and whatever, which are illegal, obviously. Nothing she's doing is illegal. It seems to be entirely of her own free will. She's very happy doing it. She's very popular doing it. Under the First Amendment.
Well, have you asked her that, Piers? Have you asked her if she's happy?
Under the First Amendment of the US Constitution.
Have you asked her if she's happy? As if she would respond with like, nah, I'm not happy, actually. Fuck that. Fucking hate this job. I hate making millions. Thing is, I don't know. I feel like part of me feels like he just doesn't like to see so many women making money or like being able to actually provide for themselves because he's so like bullshit and traditional, maybe. I don't know. We're at a point now, because the thing is, we're at a point where part of the reason why women can afford to be so picky with partners is because they make their own money now. They have their own careers. So men actually have to provide a lot more than just financial standing to get with someone, I guess. And a lot of them fucking hate that. It's like, oh shit, I actually have to develop a personality now.
Business is of yours, stick your oar in and want 50% of her cash.
No, Piers, did you ask her if she was happy? Because she posted a video 2 weeks ago.
The person spamming me to watch Cataclysm's video on this, I'm going to ban you if you send that message again.
On International Women's Day, where she was interviewing her former self, who looked to be disappointed, who aspired to be, quite literally in Sophie Rain's own words, an astronaut. Sophie, you are smart. I know you. I know your family. You are capable of anything you put your mind to. And so when you're doing this little cute Spider-Man dance online and you're creating this adult content, know that that person that you used to be still wants something more out of you. And I, as the governor of the state, want every single woman in Florida to achieve their maximum potential.
Sophie?
I mean, I think just
That's all virtue signaling, by the way.
realistically speaking, I'm very happy with where I am, and I promise I would have never got to where I am without the platform. Like, I've built businesses outside of this. I am constantly, chasing new dreams and everything. Like, I'm very happy with where I am.
Yeah, Sophie, you come from a devout Christian family, I understand. You grew up, by your own admission, pretty poor. The family didn't have much money. You relied on food stamps as a child. You were working as a waitress. You then went on OnlyFans. You said you got fired from your restaurant.
I feel like the bigger issue is the kind of men. If there's... Oh, wait. Oh, you deleted the comment. Oh, shit. I was going to read that one. Okay, fair enough.
Job, and your boss discovered the account. And so on. And now, obviously, you've become incredibly successful and rich doing this. What do your family make of your transition into this world?
They're actually very supportive of me. Definitely at first, they didn't really understand it and they were cautious of it. But I sat them down and I talked them through everything. I'm being safe. I'm doing everything legal. Like, I'm good. And they're very supportive of
and
where I am.
Are you genuinely happy?
I am. I would have never... I own my own house. Who at 21 can say that? Like, this has gave me so much autonomy over my life. And I'm just so grateful for the platform because I wouldn't have been here, especially in today's economy.
Right, I mean, James Fishback, I'm thinking of, say, the Kardashians, people like that, right? They're always stripping off, and they're making millions, billions, actually, as a family, from their bodies predominantly. They don't have any other discernible real talent. It's just stripping off and being, in the media, and it's been very successful. Does your sin tax apply to them?
The sin tax applies to adult content on the internet, whether it's OnlyFans or any other platform. Piers, let me just ask Sophie a question. Sophie.
Happy to hear it, man. I'm glad I can help.
If the number of women doing OnlyFans tripled in Florida tomorrow, would that be a good...
Which?
Or of that
some people remember.
I think honestly, it would be a great thing. A lot of women are trying to find different ways to make more income in a, heavily damaged economy. So I think that there should be those opportunities out there for these women to make an income.
Do you hear,
Sophie?
Let me ask Sophie.
Sophie and I both agree. We both agree that the economy is badly damaged. I proudly voted for President Trump, Piers, in 2024, and I have to tell you that I am not proud of the
That's true. This is very off topic. We don't need to talk about any of that.
work that he has done. We are not living in a golden age whatsoever. People in my state are struggling under the weight of this affordability crisis, and Sophie Rain and I see eye to eye that this economy is hurting a lot of people. I think that where we disagree is that the economy hurts people, and Sophie Rain wants to say, let's get them to join OnlyFans, and what I say is, let's get new job training, especially for women. Let's create new pathways, new opportunities at our public universities, career technical school. Let's create a statewide internship program for anyone under the age of 25 to get a great paying job that will teach them new skills in the 21st century. So Sophie, you and I see eye to eye where we, I think, disagree is the solution. When you say that tripling the number of OnlyFans creators is a good thing, that speaks to the damage of the economy. What I want to do is create a real economy that allows people like those women to do something dignified.
You're missing. Yeah, but James, you keep talking for Sophie, I've noticed. Right? I think you should let her speak for herself, not least because she's worth $43 million. But the point I would make is, what about, the argument that women are empowered to make their own decisions about their own bodies, their own choices,
so
their own
that's fine.
careers.
So let me ask you a question, Piers. If a woman is empowered to make their own decision about their own body, and a woman struggles to pay the rent, do we then encourage that woman to sell one of her kidneys to pay the rent and say it was her own decision? No,
she's not selling
we
her
help
kidney.
women.
She's not selling
no,
her kidney.
Hold on. But where do you draw the line, Piers?
Also, if someone wants to sell their kidney, then they're allowed to sell their kidney. It's like donating blood or donating sperm. Like some people who are in not as successful financial positions will donate certain parts of their body, even if they are expendable. Like obviously there is a line in between donating sperm and donating a kidney for sure. But like they're both legit options if you want to earn a little bit of quick, legitimate money. And you shouldn't be looked down upon for doing so. It's actually quite a noble thing to do, like you're helping someone out. Donating is not the same as selling for sure. I'm not saying they're the same thing. I'm just saying it's a shit comparison. Not allowed to sell kidneys. I don't know, maybe the kidney thing's bullshit, but like, you know, blood, sperm, that kind of thing.
She is imperiling her future as a mom, as a worker. You just heard Sophie say
She's impairing her future as a mom. I don't get that.
Piers.
Yeah, she's not impairing her future as a mom or a worker. That's all bullshit. That's all just, that's all virtue signaling stuff.
How does she imperil her future as a mother?
Well, let me tell you how. You just heard Sophie tell you that she was fired from her job when her boss found out her OnlyFans.
Yeah.
She was fired from her job.
Yeah.
And now, with all due respect to Sophie, what are you going to tell your daughter in 10 or 15 years when all of these images are all over the internet and your daughter is being bullied in middle school and was told that you guys were Christians? With all due respect, what do you say then? It creates a real weight, a real tension between a mom and her children, and of course, a worker and her employer. I don't want to encourage women to go on OnlyFans and then get fired from their job and then have a real fight at home about what mommy did on the internet last week.
Okay, Sophie?
Tell you what, she can cry in her fucking $15 million mansion at the best school in the state. She can cry about it there. It's just how it is, man. Like, I'm sure I've said embarrassing things on this channel. I've definitely said embarrassing things on this channel that if I ever have a kid, they'll look back and they'll be like, oh, fuck. But that's not a reason to make something illegal. I know it's not the same at all, but it's not a reason to make something illegal or like tax it extra because of it. Like, it's all bullshit. It's personal. It's purely personal. It's purely a personal thing.
I mean, I'm only 21. I haven't even thought about having kids yet. But also, I think that the main discussion here is sin tax. And like in the state of Florida, there's already no income tax. So, and that's also one of the main identities of Florida is that it is a no income state tax. And I think the main issue here is you're attacking women already on the site making money.
I'm attacking men as well.
Exactly. There's multiple people on the site and not everyone does adult content. OnlyFans is a massive platform and you can do anything on there. Not everything is adult content.
Well, I think to be fair to him, Sophie, he's not saying that everyone on OnlyFans should get the sin tax. He's just saying the people that he considers to be.
What's the point of exclusively punishing the woman that rather than the men to eradicate the content? If he wants to eradicate the content, then he should punish the consumers to lower demand. It's unfair. He did mention that he does want a consumer tax as well. It obviously would be nowhere near as hurtful as the sin tax, which is like 50% or something fucking crazy like that. I think if you're going to blame this industry for being like this horrible fucking thing, then I don't know. I guess it probably does lie on both people to an extent. But then I don't know about that though, because the manosphere is like, because I'm thinking the manosphere, and it's like just because there is a demand for it, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily the fault of the people that the demand is being aimed towards. So the manosphere is obviously very anti-woman or anti like the rights of women or whatever. And it would be very easy to blame that on women becoming entitled or whatever the fuck those fucking idiots say about that shit, which leads to the demand from a bunch of like incels, I guess. But I don't think it's fair to blame women for that at all. Like the manosphere is purely, well, I guess largely, very, very, very much largely the fault of incels and incel grifters.
Sinful should get a tax, and you're one of them. He thinks you're a sinner. What do you say to that?
Well, sin tax is, he's proposing that is going to attack everyone on the OnlyFans site. So does that include all of, the cooks on there that are just selling their
No, it doesn't, Sophie. No, it doesn't.
So how do you
Sophie, please don't be disingenuous.
How do you work out who's a sinner and who's not, James? Are you going to be launching a sin purge? How are you going to do this?
We're going to put you in charge of it, Piers. And so
I have
the way
a
you do
very
it is...
broad mind, James. I think if people are obeying the law, they can do what they like with their own lives. What's it got to do with you?
You know what? So what do you say then? Because prior to slavery being illegal, they were obeying their law.
No, she's not encouraging people to start doing OF. She's just saying what works for her, which is important. This is completely different from like her usual content, which which I'm definitely not a fan of. I've spoken to her before. I think she's a fucking groomer. I think she is a legitimate groomer. But like, there's not too much to fault in terms of her performance here, I suppose. People punish the woman because they are misogynistic, honestly, because they don't criticize the platform directly or the consumers of the content. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if it's inherently misogynistic to purchase OnlyFans content or watch pornography. I think there are definitely the ways where it can be done ethically. But again, it's just such a difficult thing to measure. But if it's like a consensual, wow, I'm trying to think of like the right way to phrase this here. There are probably certain contexts where grown men will pay for sex from women in Belgium, for example, and it's completely legal, it's completely amicable. They both fuck off and it was just a fine interaction, I guess. I don't think it necessarily makes the bloke some sort of like disgusting misogynist prick. I'm sure a lot of them are disgusting misogynist pricks, but like I don't think doing that makes you one, like just that action itself. Which I feel like a lot of like far leftists try to argue that like any interaction with pornography, any interaction with sex work, like immediately fucks you morally or virtually, or virtuously, I suppose. I'm just not sure. I don't really buy that. It's not something that I necessarily would engage in personally, but
they owned 100 black people. Does that make it okay? Of course not. Let me get to the very specific point that I think Sophie made.
Why do you think she's a slave? No, you have, of all the arguments you do,
that's called an analogy.
Some of the points you made, but this idea that somehow Sophie is some sort of slave, I'm just not buying that.
Look, Sophie may not be a slave. She hasn't made $43 million. Don't lowball her. She's made over $100 million. When I talk to young women in our state,
Sophie?
That is correct. Yeah.
You've made over $100 million.
In a span of 2 years, yes.
Sophie, if you want to be my running mate and be the lieutenant governor of Florida, it'll cost you $10 million. You'd be happy to do it. I'd be honored to have you.
I don't think there's anything wrong with models, but bro, imagine if you spent time instead of bettering school programs. I mean, yeah, it's a lot more important. This is, we got this here. Someone put a comment here. Yeah, sex work is totally different from being exploited by a shitty job because unfortunately a stupid choice at 18 to make some extra cash will follow you for the rest of your life. I don't even buy that. I think that's a right-wing talking point that I'm not even sure is real. Like, I know people who have done OnlyFans in the past, made, you know, decent money, but nothing to the level of these people, maybe £3,000-4,000. And it's now a few years on and they work totally regular jobs. It's not like every single time someone makes a fucking OnlyFans account, it's going to be found by every single fucker in their life and they will never be able to escape the photos. It's like, I don't know, man. People are a lot more reasonable than you think in the real world. Like, outside of the internet, people are actually pretty fucking reasonable. And I'd wager to bet that if you went to like an office job or like tried to get a regular job, unless it was like, maybe if you're a teacher or something, it's different. But there are plenty of jobs, I'm sure, where if they did find something like that and it was explained reasonably, they might just go, I guess whatever, fine. If you're qualified, you're qualified. I can't say that for sure, but I think it's a right-wing talking point that is over-exaggerated to such a huge extent.
Sophie?
No, I don't think so.
Sophie, I have to say, I mean this with no disrespect, but I'm not aware, I haven't viewed your work. What is it that makes you so popular?
I think that I'm just very transparent with my audience. I'm never over here encouraging people to try and join the site. I'm very clear on the pros and cons of it also, but I'm just very transparent.
So then hold on, what are the cons? Then what are the cons? What is the con? Let's be transparent. What is the con of joining OnlyFans?
Exactly like I said, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that OnlyFans is a great site. Some of the points you are making.
The fact that it follows you for life is a problem with society, not sex work itself. Decriminalized would help the stigma, the way that it's telling people not to. That's true. I'm sure if you go to Belgium, if you go to Amsterdam, for example, which is technically not decriminalized in Amsterdam, but New Zealand, for example, well, I'm sure there's a stigma, but I'm sure there's nowhere near as much of a stigma as like, oh, what do you do for work? Oh, I'm a sex worker. All right, fine. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's not like that at all, but it's definitely a lot closer to that there than it is here. Whether or not that's a good thing, I think is a matter of opinion, but I'm certainly not against it.
Are correct, like, you know, it's damaging to the future, and I want people to understand and educate themselves, but women still should be able to make that decision for themselves at the end of the day.
I'm raising the tax to disincentivize and deter it. I'm not banning it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That is what he's doing. Sophie, if you had a daughter, would you want her to do what you're doing?
I mean, I would let her decide. It's up to her decision.
But do you think as a mother you would want that?
I think I would be supportive of it no matter what. Yes.
Here's a comment. I do sex work right now to help pay college under this name. I doubt anyone here knows me. I started at 18. Following is a very broad term, in my honest opinion. I mean, hey, I think your opinion's worth a little more than mine, so.
Sophie, would you be supportive of your son selling crack cocaine?
No, that is illegal.
Right, so that was the dumbest fucking question I think he could possibly have ever asked. What the fuck was that? What was that? What was that? Would you be okay with your son selling crack cocaine? Fucking hell, dude. That is like, that's like a vegan having a problem with like you working at a burger restaurant and asking, well, would you be okay with your son murdering 10 orphans? Like, what the fuck are you on about? Like, obviously, that's highly illegal. Look at how angry he is. He had this stupid fucking smug-ass smile on the whole time. But now, oh, no. You just brought up a good point, and he's not happy about it. It's not even a good point. It's the obvious point.
So why, what is this difference between legal and illegal? Why can't we just say it's moral or immoral?
Because one's legal.
Where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line?
Let me ask you. In Afghanistan, you can marry an
Well, cheating is immoral, we can all agree, but you can't make it illegal. If you make cheating illegal, that has so many like drawbacks and like knock-on effects that will just make it impossible. So it can be immoral in someone's opinion without being illegal. But sex work isn't even inherently immoral. It's only immoral because these like people like this have socially constructed it into making it like this immoral fucking thing. Just because there are immoral elements to it, and a lot of people who get involved happen to be immoral, it doesn't make it inherently immoral. I don't think it is inherently immoral.
8-year-old. It is quite literally legal in Afghanistan to marry an 8-year-old. And so does that make it right, Sophie?
We don't live in Afghanistan.
Right. What are you
Sophie,
talking about?
It's an analogy. It's an analogy. It's an analogy.
It's a ridiculous analogy. You're choosing a country with a
situation. It doesn't make sense.
In the United States of America, Sophie Rain.
Prior to slavery being
the same
illegal,
laws that you do, James.
No, Piers. Prior to slavery being illegal, would you have opposed slavery because it was legal? It was legal, Piers. It's okay if it's legal, right?
Sophie?
Oh, you're asking me? I mean, I didn't live back then. I'm just here to talk about what we are here to talk about.
It's an analogy. Of course you didn't live back then, Sophie. Of course you didn't. This is my issue. I'm here to have a good faith conversation with a former Florida resident.
Why is she kind of smart? This is the thing. She's not even like, I mean, I'm not saying she's dumb, but this interview is not a good, I guess, showing of her intelligence if she is like a really smart person. Because these are the most obvious responses to what this bloke is saying. Like, these are not difficult arguments to refute, if that makes sense. It really does not take a genius.
Former resident, a current Florida resident. And my point to Sophie is this, is if you want to keep doing this, then we're going to take 50% of what you earn and we're going to use it to raise public school teacher pay. Our public school teachers are not getting paid enough. We're going to use this as a resource to fund the empowerment of young women who have signed up to do something dignified, with all due respect, unlike you, and be a public school teacher, educating, inspiring, and motivating.
You know what, James? You know what? Here's what I would say. I've got to end this debate. Here's what I would say. I've listened to both of you, and you both made good points. But honestly, that last statement you made was so pompous and patronising. Honestly, who are you to be the great moral arbiter of what young women do with themselves legally in the United States? Who are you to say if you become governor, you're going to take half their money in a state where they don't have even state income tax? It's like there's a real arrogance to this, that you've decided you are the moral arbiter of every Floridian. And it may be why you're trailing so badly.
He needs a tote bag and some matcha green tea, I think. Feminist literature in the background.
Well, Sophie, the good news for you is don't worry about it, because he's not going to win. So you're not going to end up giving Mr. Fishback any money for his plans, much as it would be great to put more money into teachers in public schools. Of course it would be. But it won't be coming from you, Sophie Rain, because he ain't going to win.
Well, if I'm not going to win, Sophie Rain can put a $5 million market tonight that I'm not going to win. She'll make a lot of money. What I will tell you,
you know what?
Is the same arrogance. Sophie
doesn't need the money, but I might do that so that I can become.
You might fear the same arrogance that said that Donald Trump could never win, that Zohran Mamdani could never win. Why don't you come to Florida and come to one of our rallies where we're drawing crowds larger than anyone else in this race?
This is so true. I hate that his focus was on sex workers instead of billionaires. It's like, yeah, if you want to tax someone, tax the fucking billionaires, not the sex workers, you idiot. Especially because most sex workers aren't making 40 million or whatever the fuck this lassie's making here, Sophie.
Let me tell you, I was the lone voice in the UK who confidently predicted Donald Trump would win in 2016. And you know why I knew he'd win? Because I'd been down interviewing serial killers in Florida, and I could feel the Trump train surging and the Hillary train hitting the buffers. So my political instincts are very good, and I'm afraid the way the polls look at the moment, James Fishback, to quote my
Piers' political instincts fucking suck. Like, he's very politically inept. He's a fucking idiot. Piers sucks.
Favourite phrase, you have two hopes, no hope and Bob hope. But miracles can happen in politics, and I wish you all the best. Sophie Rain, thank you very much indeed for joining me. Wish you continued success. I think women should better do what they want with themselves, as long as it's within the confines of the law. And so should you, James.
We're going to change the law, and we are going to change the law, Piers.
Well, we'll see about that. If you win, you can try.
If I win, Sophie Rain's going to owe me $50 million. I'm going to raise teacher pay all over the state. That's what we're going to do, and we're going to proudly do it, because in Florida, we don't let our women be exploited by OnlyFans degeneracy. We inspire them to be something more. And Sophie, there's still more time. There's still time left for you to quit OnlyFans and do something dignified. I say that with love. I've never attacked you personally. I truly want what's best for you and your family.
Sophie, let me answer that, because I think one of you will be quitting this year, their current job, and it won't be you. And it won't be me. I've got to leave it there. Thank you. Well, James, I've given you a good argument. You know what? Some of the points you made were perfectly valid points. I don't think I would want my daughter, for example, to be doing what Sophie's doing.
Why can't you just say that without disparaging our supporters? Why can't you just say that without disparaging our supporters?
You don't have any supporters.
I don't. Well, who were the 500 people at the University of Florida last week? The largest political event in a decade since Hillary Clinton.
Let me bet. I'll bet you.
Piers, you're 3,000 miles away disparaging our supporters, hardworking people.
I have a home in the United States. I'm there all the time. I've worked and lived there for 20 years. So don't be patronising me too. You've already been patronising enough to Sophie. Why don't we say
that? He's been very personally. He's very much been personally attacking her the whole time. So you can't switch to like, oh, this is with giving you this message with peace and love, baby, peace and love. It's like, nah, you're being a dickhead. He absolutely was being a dickhead.
I'll bet you $10,000 to a charity of your choice. You do not win. Do you accept the bet?
Well, I want to know what the odds are because Polymarket
no odds.
wants to
It's
give
me and you.
one.
Mano to mano.
At what odds? And I get 10,000, you get 10,000. That's a 50-50
against Mr. Perfect. Let's have a little 10 grand bet to charity on camera.
Sure.
On camera.
Sure.
I say you're going to.
What is this stupid shit with the bet? Like, this is just time wasting. This isn't gonna happen.
Lose. If you are this confident you're going to win, take the bet.
I'll take the bet if you give me $100,000. That's the 10 to 1 on Polymarket right now. If I win, you give me $100,000.
I'll give you odds. If you're not confident you can win, I understand it.
The odds are on Polymarket.
So you
right
accept
now,
the Polymarket is right, you're going to get shellacked. You accept it.
Piers, I look forward to everyone, including Sophie, voting on election day, August 18th.
I'll give you one last chance. If you genuinely think you're going to win $10,000 to charity of both our choices, the winner chooses which charity. Do you accept my bet? I say you're going to lose. You say you're going to win.
It's on what charity, Piers, because I don't want you giving money to abortion clinics, Piers, or to
would be the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund.
I want the money to be specifically given to a pro-life charity.
It would go to, you can give it to any charity you want. I'll give mine when I win to the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund, which is the charity.
All right, we are done watching this. I'm not fucking bothering with this stupid bet shit. I think we're done with this stream. I really enjoyed it. I will be streaming a lot more often, so don't worry about that.